We had two main events this weekend, one in boxing, one in MMA. In boxing, it was two superstars going up against each other, and in MMA, while they are good fighters, and while you can say Diego Lopes is kind of becoming a superstar, and John Silva with his mannerisms is popular, kind of, a future superstar, those aren't like top pound for pound fighters in MMA right now, at least. While in boxing, this was a showdown which was awaited since long. This was a fight which was promoted, I think, 3-4 months ago, right? And this was like the biggest fight in boxing in this year. While Diego Lopes versus John Silva was a UFC Fight Night, not even a UFC pay-per-view. And I must say, if you compare both the main events, you can say as a casual that MMA was much, much more exciting than boxing. Now, of course, you can say that this was a high level fight between Canelo and Crawford, and it was a chess match. They can't just go out there swinging, etc., etc. But even when they were swinging, even when they were going head to head, toe to toe, and it was exciting, it it just doesn't match the excitement of an MMA fight. Compare that to Diego Silva and sorry, Diego Lopes, sorry, Diego Lopes and John Silva going up against each other. When they were just, throwing bombs, when John Silva was connecting, when Diego Lopes took him down in the first round, hit him with those vicious elbows, cut him open at the top of his skull, and then the finish with the spinning elbow, finally knocking John Silva out. Now that kind of excitement, that kind of violence, that kind of, I would say, activity was just missing in boxing. Across the card, you can see that those were good fights. There were, technical bouts happening in boxing, and of course, in boxing, you are limited. You can't throw elbows, you can't throw kicks, etc., etc. And that's what doesn't make it that exciting. That is what makes it kind of one-dimensional. And it was great when you were watching boxing as the pinnacle of, I would say, fighting as a sport. But now MMA, since MMA has taken to mainstream, since many networks are now investing in MMA, I would say you just can't put them in the same bracket. MMA is so much more exciting. There are so many facets in MMA. There are kicks, there is wrestling, there is also boxing, there is Muay Thai, there's kickboxing. There are so many martial arts mixed together. While boxing, while is an exciting sport, it's just limited to boxing. It's just limited to you throwing your hands. Of course, it has a lot of things that your leg movement, your body movement, how you tackle your opponent. There are a lot of technicalities in boxing which I don't know as a casual. But still, as a casual, watching boxing versus watching MMA is just so different. Watching MMA, you'll be excited because if there is a fighter, say, against Sean O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili. Now, if Sean O'Malley does get a shot in, Merab Dvalishvili can take him down in the next second, and the complexion of the fight changes. Like we saw against Diego Lopes and John Silva. Silva was doing great damage to Diego Lopes in the second round. He was hitting him hard. He connected with those 1-2s, and it was apparent that maybe John Silva will win that round. He must have won that round if he wouldn't have gotten knocked out at the end. And he got too eager. He was chasing Diego Lopes. He was trying to finish him, and then suddenly Diego Lopes connects him with a spinning elbow, and bam, the fight is over. Compare that to boxing, for instance. Even the great fights, the popular fights at least, between Fury and Wilder. While Fury got the knockouts into fights, it wasn't that, Deontay Wilder was doing some great damage to Fury and bam, Fury connects one and Deontay Wilder goes down. Rarely that happens in boxing. I, I mean, I've not seen enough boxing to make this comment, but I've seen enough highlights, I've seen enough popular fights to see that it doesn't just happen, right? It doesn't happen that one fighter is just dominating, purely dominating another fighter, and bam, the other fighter wins. Over here, while it can happen, the swing in momentum can come like within a second. So that's the facet of MMA that boxing kind of doesn't have right now, because boxing again is one discipline, one dimensional, and you have to be more technical, you have to gauge the opponent, you have to see how I'm going to beat him, outbox him, rather than probably knock him out. And I think Canelo was trying to do that. Canelo was not trying to outbox him, he was trying to knock him out rather than you know get his combos going, get anything going, perhaps, because it was apparent that Terence Crawford won at least 8 rounds, if not more, right? And the scorecards which said 115 to 113, those are just shocking scorecards. So that aspect in boxing, where the scorecards are just so weird. Even the fight before them, the commentators were saying this scorecard is weird, as in it was maybe a fighter dominating another fighter, but it wasn't 120, 110, or whatever the scorecard was, 190, two scorecards. It wasn't that one-sided. And while Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez was kind of one-sided, you can say that 7-8 rounds belonged to Crawford. Still, looking at the scorecards, you'll think that it was a close fight. It was 115, 113, and one judge gave it 116 to 112. Not pure sheer dominance. While if you see as a casual, if you see even as an expert, you would say that Terence Crawford completely outboxed Canelo Alvarez. And the scorecards don't say that. While in MMA we've seen, crazy scorecards, those aren't this crazy, right? In MMA, you kind of right now get what you see, what you're seeing, and Alex Pereira versus Ankalaev is an excellent example of that. That the scorecards aren't that weird. Everybody saw that Alex Pereira wasn't winning that fight. He was losing 3 rounds to 2. And majority of the judges gave it 3 rounds to 2 to Ankalaev. One judge gave it 4 rounds to 1, which was also fair. But over here, it's almost kind of weird. Every fight, every boxing match, you get kind of a weird scorecard. It happened in, Fury versus Wilder 1, which was deemed as a draw. And many people said that Tyson Fury would have won that fight, and it would have been 3-0 rather than 2-0 and one draw. So the point of all this is, boxing used to be the pinnacle of combat sports, of fighting as a sport, but now it's MMA. And it's not just now, it's been there for quite a while. But now that you see these two fights happening on the same night, you would say, as a casual, MMA is so much more exciting to watch than boxing.